Alright, been wanting to do this video for a while. We got our 2022 Kia Sorento plug-in hybrid, and we drove it 10,000 kilometers in the first 3 weeks, and then another 5,000 kilometers in the next few weeks after that. So we put over 15,000 on it already in the first couple months. So a couple of things I just wanted to talk about. I'm just going to go over them all, and I'll insert some stuff as need be. But first of all, loving it. We had a Traverse before, 2016 Chevy Traverse, so loved it too, but the fuel economy was horrible. It averaged like 14 per 100, and this thing gets like 7 or less per 100, like they say it does. So a couple of things I'm going to go over is I'm going to talk about cruise control. I'm going to talk about how fast you can drive before the engine kicks in, because people were worried or talking about that. How the wind and the road lean, like if the road's lean and stuff, how it affects it. Talk about the back seats a little bit, the elastic banding, where you slow down and speed up and it can be a little bit of a problem. Some odds and ends. And then I've also pulled, I installed a trailer hitch and some wiring, and I pulled about 2,000 pounds for 1,000 kilometers. So I'll just give you some fuel economy and stuff on that. So I'm just going to kind of start, I guess. I'll start at the top of my list. So cruise control, I thought it was going to have adaptive cruise control. Apparently that's an added feature. It does not have adaptive cruise control. So, which on our first trip would have been nice, because we were down all through, we went across Canada and through the States, and it would have been really nice to have. But the other thing is, if when you click cruise to turn it on, if you are 1 kilometer off of where you want to be, so say you click it and it's like 99, you want to be 100, so you click it up to move to 100, it will, like, I don't know if you drops a gear, it totally revs the engine or the accelerator, depending on what it is, and will turn the engine on if it's not on, even if it's 1 kilometer different. Instead of just like using the acceleration it has to go to it, it does that. So that's super annoying, because even when you go down and then you start going up a hill or along the flat, if it dips like a little tiny bit on the cruise control, like I say, it's like it drops a gear and just vroom and wants to get back up. So it does keep you at the range that you've selected. But the other thing is, if you go over speed, it was talking about slowing you down, but I noticed that kicks in. All right, so yeah, it will kick in around, I noticed around 15 kilometers to 20, but it depends on how fast it deaccelerates as you're going, or fast it accelerates as you're going down a hill. Then it seems to kick in between 10 and 20 kilometers over. Then it will start, it will use the battery, it'll start charging, it'll use the motors, and it will actually engage the motor to slow you down. And so it does keep you from going too fast over, but you still often go 20 over with cruise control. All right, let's talk about how fast you can drive with the engine, or sorry, on motors and battery, as opposed to the engine starting. So lots of controversy. I couldn't get any information on this online pretty much before. So I've noticed that if you go above 100, well, first of all, the motor loves to kick in. This thing, even though it loves to run on battery too, it just loves to turn the motor on. You're a little heavy on the accelerator, you're on a hill, you turn your heat on, you sneeze, it just seems to turn the motor on. It will turn it off again often. It can linger quite a bit, I noticed. So so it will often leave the motor on for, I don't know, like a minute or something, say. I don't even know if it's quite that long, but it's, and you'll wonder why it's on, because you got lots of battery, your heater's turned off, you're on flat ground. But if you're a little bit of a hill, seems to like turning the motor on. Anyway, so the motor does like to turn on, but it will turn off again. But you can also go quite well. You turn it into EV mode, and it forces it to use more of the battery and motors versus the engine. And like I cruise at 100, and the engine rarely turns on unless I have my cruise control set and I go up and down hills, then it starts to kick in and stuff for that. But I noticed if you go over 100, it, like even 103, 105, it really starts to like turning the motor on. Now in perfect flat conditions, I've gone 130 where it's legally allowed, and I also did that on battery. But again, I find that less common, especially where we are. It's flat, but it's got like everything's kind of on slight hills, up or down. You're rarely like really, really flat. And So definitely you can go 100 from my experience, and your engine's not kicking in. So that's nice if you're close to where you need to go. Otherwise, it doesn't matter that much because it's kicking in when it needs it, and then the batteries run. And I mean, if you're on a 300 kilometer, 200 kilometer trip, um, you're going to run out of battery anyways, and so it actually tries to utilize that the best and charges it the best. So it's just the short trips that really, like if you're going to your friends and they're 20 kilometers away or 15 or whatever, you want to go there and back on only the battery, then you turn it on EV, and you would, you try not get the engine going. And so that's where you worry about that a little more, I'd say. But all right. One thing I noticed with the wind, especially versus my Traverse, which is heavier, but the wind and the road slant make this thing feel like it's pulling. I actually thought there was a problem with it when I got it, because we bought it in um, Ontario, and it was just windy and flat there, and we were driving it, and it was just always trying to pull. It felt like it was pulling off the road all the time. And I mean, I've noticed other vehicles do that too that are lighter, but this one especially I really noticed with it. So not only that, road slants. So if you're on a road that's been slanted, either for cornering, but even just for some of them, they do it for the rain or whatever they do it for, but like it's noticeably slanted. And up north here, we definitely have a lot of roads like that. You'll feel it pull, and I don't know if that's normal or not. That's how this works. And so it definitely, I mean, you get used to it and it's fine, but I do notice that more, definitely more than in my Traverse, if I'm comparing it to the Traverse. So something to think about. The back seats. Everyone complains about the two back seats in here. Not everyone, but the leg room is the problem in these back seats. It is very short, the leg room, but quite honestly, I mean, even adults have sat back there and no one really complains. I don't know if anyone's done a huge road trip, but people have sat back there for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. And I mean, your knees are bunched up a bit, but it's not the end of the world. It seems to work pretty good. We haven't really had anyone complain or anything. Like I say, we've driven a lot in this. Now, the big road trip we did, we just had the four of us. So, it was fine with the four of us because they got to sit just in the two captain seats behind me as opposed to the very far back ones. But the elastic banding, that is annoying. So this thing, something to do with the, I don't know, the motors and the electric. I don't know if it's when it's switching between gas and electric. I don't think so. I think it's even when just on electric, but you'll slow down. And I think it's when, if you don't completely stop, but I thought it happened even when I don't completely stop. But if you're slowing down, often when you go to accelerate, it won't. There's a lag time of like seconds. Like, I don't know, like it could even be up to 2 seconds where there's a complete lag time. You're pressing the accelerator, your vehicle is not moving. And then after that 1 to 2 seconds, it kicks in. And if you're not careful, you go zooming forward because, first of all, you're on electric motor and they're very responsive that way. And second of all, you've pushed the accelerator down because you're like, why isn't my vehicle moving? And so that I find very annoying, and you have to be very careful, especially in traffic where you're trying to look for a little hole and punch out into it. You've got to realize that there can be like a 1+ second time where you've pushed the accelerator and you're not moving yet. And so it may not seem significant talking on this video, but you really notice it. The other problem is on hills. If you're on a steep hill or even a bit of a hill and you're trying to go and there's someone right behind you, it's like driving a standard and you don't know how to use the clutch. You'll start rolling backwards. You actually have to use the brake, press the accelerator, and wait until it starts going in to kind of release that brake fully. So I mean, it's not, again, these things aren't making brakes, but they definitely are there. And so you got to be aware of that, even just when you're driving. So super annoying. I don't know why that has to be, but one thing is the charge cable. I don't know how long it is, like maybe 10 feet or something. It's, unless you can park right beside a plug-in, it's annoying because you usually have to plug it into a extension cord. And I mean, they're thick because they draw a lot of power. And so if you are going to extend it, you should get a good extension cord. But anyways, that's just annoying. I thought they could be 10 feet longer and it would be nice. We don't think there's any heat in the back. I haven't fully tested this, but it's got AC in the very far back. They can actually control their own AC, but we couldn't find, it didn't seem like heat went back there at all. And so I don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure the very far back, the middle seats get heat, but the far back ones don't actually get heat. So that was really weird. Okay, so I think pulling, other thing is, two other things which are a little off topic for people maybe. Pulling, so if you're not going to pull, don't worry about it, watching the rest of it. And the next one is sleeping. We actually slept a lot in this thing on our trip. I got two kids, so if you're not doing sleeping or pulling, you can turn the video off. I think that's pretty much it. But anyways, sleeping and pulling. So sleeping, first of all, we did sleep in here. We put a little air mattress in the back. So my wife and I would sleep on the air mattress usually. And then the front seats would fold back and the kids would sleep on the front seats. And we actually slept, I don't know how many nights. I'm sure we slept 4 or 5 nights in here at least on our trip. And it was decently comfortable. The people in the back are fine. Like I'm 6 feet and you could pretty much stretch out. The only problem with it was when these front seats go back and you've got your blow up air mattress or whatever in the back there, the seats and the air mattress conflict a little bit, especially if you want like a full 6+ feet back there. So we could play with that a little bit, but it worked for us. There's also between the two, because everything's captain seats in this thing, between the middle captain seats, there's a big huge gap. So the air mattress filled it up, but often we just stick stuff there. We always usually have a bunch of stuff in your vehicle anyways, and so you just fill that gap up with whatever you happen to have, and that works. So sleeping in here definitely works, and like 2 people for sure. And I mean, honestly, 4 of us slept in. I even slept in the front seat once or twice. And I think my wife might have slept in the one other seat because they recline back nicely. So lots of leg room, stuff like that. I'm 6 feet and she's like, I don't know, 5'8" or 5, something like that. So pulling. All right, on to pulling. So I needed a vehicle that could pull because we have like tent trailer and we wanted to pull a little trailer and we want to be able to pull a quad if we need to, or just whatever, a hay bale, round hay bale, not a square one. Because anyways, so I put a trailer hitch on here. I might do a video thing on that because but it doesn't matter. I got the trailer hitch and the wiring hooked up so that I did pull. So I pulled, these things are rated for 2,000 pounds, and so I pulled a trailer which I weighed on the way up. It was 1,700 pounds, and I had 700 pounds extra in the vehicle. So that's me and whatever food and gear I had in here. So I was at 2,400 pounds, and I don't know if that's if that pulling rating is a 2,000 extra with all the people in here, or if that's 2,000 period. So needless to say, I was pulling a 1,700 pound trailer and I had 700 pounds of everything in the vehicle. I did not get a charge where I was staying. They pay atrocious amounts for their electricity, so I didn't charge it. So I started, I'm going to put a video, I'll put the video clip in here, but I'll also just say it here. Maybe I'll cut this out, but we'll go insert video clip. All right, here we go. So 1,063 kilometers, average fuel economy was just under 12, and the timer's just 15 hours, but I did idle it kind of for a half an hour, which idling in this car just means it was in EV mode sitting there, but running the AC when I was sleeping. It's economy I got, and I basically had cruise control on at around 100 for most of the trip. Of course I couldn't the whole time, but that was probably a good majority of it. So there you go, pulling the trailer, you're gonna get probably around 12 per 100 pulling a trailer. And this should have went back further, but I'm gonna add this in now. Maybe I will inject it back in further in case people didn't watch. The fuel economy on this thing, totally basically what it's saying. Like they say under, like between a little over 7 to a little under 7, depending if you're doing lots of highway or not. And we personally, on our big long 10,000 kilometer trip, we plugged it in, I'm gonna say like 6 to 8 times over the whole trip, and we got like 6.6 or 6.8 per 100. See if this works on video here. Here we go. This is our last almost 10,000 kilometers. We haven't averaged 6.6. We have been plugging it in a bit and stuff, but 5,000 of that was pure road trip with no plugging it in. Highway speeds too. Oh, I do have it written down here. So 10,000, I have it recorded on the vehicle, and I'll maybe insert that here. 10,000 kilometers, 6.6, and that would be some charging. I think the first 5,000 kilometers was almost no charging with that, but then the other 5 we did charge it for. But amazing in fuel economy. Like I fill every time I fill up the pump, it doesn't hold a lot. So between if you have a charge and a tank of fuel, you get I think around 500 kilometers out of this. But if you aren't getting your charge, then you're getting like just over 400 per tank. It's like 40 liters. But it's like I fill up at the pump and I just laugh compared to my Traverse, because my Traverse was really bad. It was like 14 per 100 averaging. Anyways, that's pretty much everything. I'll probably put up some other videos as well about this. This is our main vehicle now. We live up north, so we got -40. We drive down south in the summers, so we might hit like +40 as well, but up here it only gets in like the 30s usually, low 30s, mid 30s. So anyways, we'll be doing stuff on winter as well, because it'll be interesting to see about that. And if you have any questions in the comments, get a hold of me, and if I can figure them out for you, I will. All right, talk to you later.